Hey guys, welcome back to more insane Karen stories. In this video, an entitled parent claimed that I cannot be a teacher because I am in a wheelchair. And I honestly could not be more upset. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one starts like this. So I manage a pumpkin patch. We have the pumpkins of course, but also a few rides, slides, bounce houses and petting zoos. It is designed to appeal to younger kids, think the 3 to 15 year age, but most rides are for 5 to 15. This happened right after opening. She was the first guest there. I was not wearing my manager apron because I had to chase and escape baby pig, and baby pigs do what baby pigs do. Our rides have ratings for what age they are appropriate for. Also, there are weight restrictions too, but the big one is the age. 5 to 15 years old on this big 30 foot in the air slide. A woman decided that it would be fine and safe to strap her 1-year-old to her, climb this slide and go down. I told her absolutely not, that she was absolutely not allowed to do that. She informed me that she had to, because the baby could not climb up there by himself. Ma'am, your 1-year-old infant is not allowed on that slide. She told me the manager had given her permission and that she had been allowed down with the same baby last year. With a newborn? She was absolutely not allowed to do that. She demanded to speak to the manager, who told her that she could. I told her the only manager on site was me, and I had never seen her before in my life. She and her partner and baby went to the parking lot where they ambushed the co-manager, the very Mexican co-manager. They told him that I was rude and racist against Mexicans. Let me get this straight, he laughed. My wife is racist against Mexicans? They laughed at a huff. They called the owners, who told them if they couldn't follow the rules to just stay the hell off of their lot. And the next one is the title story from r/idoworkherelady as well, and it is titled, Yes, I'm disabled, but I'm still a teacher. Posted by user Chronic Complex Case. So I'm now retired, but I used to be a teacher. I'm also a wheelchair user. So I was very lucky to work in a school with a very understanding head teacher who treated me like any other employee and did everything she could to accommodate my needs without treating me any differently. I specialized in SEND, special education needs and disabilities, and as part of my job, I would attend meetings with other professionals linked to certain students. Think social workers, other in-school staff like the SENCO, special education needs coordinator, therapists, youth workers and council staff linked to education, etc., along with parents, carers, foster parents, etc. Some of these meetings would be at my school and some off-site. My head would always offer up a meeting room at our school because the school was fully accessible and I didn't have to worry about driving to and finding accessible parking and then worrying about the building being fully accessible, etc. The majority of the time, everyone not from my school was more than happy as we were centrally located, had a large free car park and did good catering with a proper coffee machine and nice fruit platters and pastries instead of the usual, a pack of stale digestive biscuits and cheap instant coffee. So basically a win-win all around. Anyway, one day I had a meeting with a new student who we will call Fred, who was gonna be joining my class. I was liaising between the various people involved in the meeting, which included Fred's social worker. They were then liaising with Fred's foster parents as I didn't have their contact info. I knew the social worker from other students and she knew that we would have the meeting at my school and why, and was more than happy for this. She often joked that she wished she could have all her meetings here, even for pupils not at our school, because of the nice coffee and fruit platters. And we arranged it all. Day of the meeting, and I'm alerted by reception that my guests were there. I roll off to meet them, and before I can even approach the foster parents, the other people involved in the meeting had not arrived yet. They were ranting at the receptionist on how ridiculous it was that they had to come here and couldn't have had it at the council office. All because supposedly someone in the meeting had a disability, said using air quotes, and it was easier for them to have it here. Ranting about how stupid this was to pander to people like this, how people will make up disabilities to be the center of attention, and how it was getting worse and never like this in the past. They were in their 60s. The poor receptionist is trying to get a word in and spots me and looks embarrassed knowing that I've seen and heard this, but I don't care. So I roll over and introduce myself as Fred's new teacher, and before I can say anything else, I'm interrupted by the woman as she says, "Don't be stupid, you're not his new teacher. You cannot possibly be a teacher if you're a wheelchair." Not wheelchair user, just wheelchair something. I sadly get a lot when people, for example, would say, "A wheelchair wants to come in," like I am an inanimate object and not actually a human, but anyway, I digress. and then turns to the poor receptionist and goes, "Can you let the teacher know we are here?" and turns to her husband and goes, "Phone the social worker, this is ridiculous." Poor Fred at this point has his head in his hands and looks so anxious and shy, like he wants to disappear. I lift my lanyard and staff badge to the woman and reply, "I can assure you that I'm Mrs. Complex Case, Fred's new teacher, and that my legs not working had no effect on my ability to be a teacher, and that they too are not mutually affected by each other." At this point, the social worker, the educational psychologist, and another worker, speech and language if my memory serves me right, walks in and the foster mother goes, "Oh, thank God you're here. None of you look disabled, so why you insisted on us having the meeting here for that reason is beyond me." Turning to her husband and the receptionist saying, "I told you, people make up all sorts of disabilities nowadays and want everyone to pander to them. It's getting worse and worse," before returning to the social worker and continuing with, "Also, Fred's teacher has not arrived yet, but she," rudely thrusting her finger in my face, "is trying to say that she's his teacher when she clearly cannot be. Well, look at her." Giving me a rude glare and up and down, if looks could kill assessment. The social worker, shocked, replies, "I will remind you now that you are both new foster parents, so you are subject to frequent reviews to assess your suitability for the job." Foster mom butts in and goes, "What do you mean? We are here and agreed to come to the school to accommodate one of you apparently having a disability that I cannot see." Social worker sighs and goes, "Well, insulting Mrs. Complex Case and all disabled people is not really a great first impression. Mrs. Complex Case is indeed Fred's new teacher, who by this point was trying his hardest to merge into the sofa he is sat on so as not to exist in the reception area anymore. Because wheelchair users can be teachers." Foster mom tried to butt in at this point, but the social worker held her hands up to silence her, which makes the foster mom get even more red in the face and carries on talking. Plus, the school is actually closer to your house than the council offices. It also has free abundant parking, unlike the council offices, and best of all, it has amazing coffee and refreshments. You're lucky to get a mug of brown coffee flavored water and an unbroken stale rich tea at the council office. Unlike here, where we will get proper coffee and, turning to me, I assume we have one of the most amazing fruit platters and a tray of pastries for the meeting, right? So having the meeting here benefits all of us, not just being more accessible for Mrs. Complex Case. Before the foster mother can utter a reply, the social worker ushers us all to the meeting room. The poor receptionist had signed them all in during this, later saying that she felt so much secondhand embarrassment and anxiety she needed something to do, and apologizing for not doing more, which I kept reassuring her she did nothing wrong and you get a thick skin when disabled to start the meeting. The meeting went well. We tried not to let the mom say much. The educational psychologist said something like, "This meeting is more for us to discuss with Fred directly our plan to help him transition with these new changes and ensure he is happy and safe." And so everything was directed at Fred and seldom at his foster parents. I got very curt sorry from the mom at the end of the meeting, followed by a, "But you can see how I was confused. It's very odd to see someone like you actually working, and especially in a job like this that requires a degree." I laugh and go, "Wow, next you'll be telling me that I cannot drive or vote or get married and, live a normal everyday life." The father said a more apologetic sorry, but I got the feeling that she very much is in control of that relationship and his life would not be worth living if he had said anything else. The other professionals in the meeting looked more concerned for the couple being foster parents and exchanged glances at the end with me like, "I cannot believe I've witnessed all of this." In the meeting at the start, the psychologist said that he had worked with me a number of times and how lucky Fred was for having me as a teacher, as I was very good at my job and would soon have him settled and caught up in a loving school, which I think I had angered her more too. Fred looked very sorry and also embarrassed at these new foster parents treating me like they were. Luckily for him though, a week later he was removed from them and placed with a lovely couple who had fostered another student of mine in the past. He flourished with them and myself at the school and was a delightful student to have. Honestly, he had been dealt some awful cards in life and despite all of that was a lovely child. I often wonder what he's up to now and hoped his biological parents had not won custody back. Which I know sounds weird wishing such a thing, but they caused him so much psychological and emotional trauma that took a long time to overcome. And the next one is another I Do Work Here Lady story. And by the way, if you enjoy these I Do Work Here Lady stories, then please don't forget to like the video and let me know in the comments that you like this. Thank you so much, and now let's continue with the story. So I am a judge in Germany. When I was in my second year, I happened to be transferred to a local court called Amtsgericht in a rural area, and one of my responsibilities was deciding about closed accommodation for mentally ill people. Often, the public order office would take someone who, for example, had a psychotic breakdown to the local psychiatric hospital and apply to the court to decide about the closed accommodation. I then would drive to the clinic for the hearing. This would have to happen on the same day or at least within 24 hours. The hearing would also be attended by a psychiatrist to inform me about the mental condition of the person concerned and by a lawyer to protect their rights. This procedural role is called a Verfahrenspfleger. There were 3 or 4 lawyers in the area, one of them would attend their hearings on a certain day of the week. The lawyer was informed by the court office about the time and location of the hearing. Sometimes, despite this being a quiet rural area, there would be several hearings on the same day. When the following story happened, I just transferred to this local court, so I didn't know yet the local lawyers and they didn't know me. I had scheduled 2 or 3 hearings that day. It was a cold and rainy day and therefore I was wearing a warm jacket and a leather hat, a kangaroo leather hat by Barma. Not a very judge-like appearance, but waterproof, and these hearings are no formal court sessions. No one wears a suit or judge's robes there. However, I arrived at the clinic a few minutes early. The lawyer was not there yet, so I waited for him at the counter within the closed section of the hospital after I told him why I was there. The lawyer arrived on time and proceeded to the counter. I, standing nearby, heard him say, Rechtsanwalt aka Lawyer XY, I'm here as Verfahrenspfleger for the hearing with the Amtsgericht. So I approached him and said, great that you're here, you have the hearing with me. He looked at me still wearing my hat and he probably thought, oh, yet another weirdo in the closed ward, and asked for my name. I told him my last name, assuming he would have read my name in his documents. He checks his list and, I don't have your name here, maybe the court has scheduled another hearing, but we will know when the judge arrives. Just then I realized he thought I was a patient. At the court we had often joked about getting mistaken for a schizophrenic person, believing to be a judge and not to be allowed to leave the clinic after the hearing. For a moment I thought that was now happening to me. Luckily, when I said, oh no, sorry, I'm the judge here, he instantly believed me and I did not have to spend the day in the clinic waiting for myself to arrive. I also did not have an official judge ID card at the time, as it usually was enough to carry court files and tell people that I was a judge, but I made sure to get one after this incident. And now another I do work here lady story. So back in 2021 I was working as a gas station attendant. I was 20 at the time, waiting for my coworker to get back from her lunch, and then these customers, in a little Kia toaster car, pull up to one of my further pumps. A sketchy looking lady in her late 30s walks up to the window and asks to put $5 on her pump. Simple enough, I worked in a self-serving state, so I just let her do her thing. Did not realize until they were about done that their car was still running. Darn, at my gas station when you bought gas, no matter how much, you got complimentary air at the air compressor. Buy $1 worth of gas and get $1.50 worth of pressurized air for free. The lady came back up and asked if I'd turn the air on for them, of course. But there's a button on a remote I had to press, as well as a button on the machine itself that they were supposed to press. They did not understand when I said to press the little silver button on the bottom of the left side. Equally looking sketchy guy in like his 40s walks over from the air pump and asks me how to get it started. I leave my little kiosk and walk to the other side of the pumps to the air compressor, turn it on for them and show them how it works, and start to walk back to the kiosk. Out of nowhere, 4 squad cars pull up on surrounding us. Cop tells me to stop and put my hands up. I put my hands up and say, I work here. The cop was skeptical about it. Keep in mind I'm a person of color, it's 2021 and I was wearing a black hoodie with reflective designs on the front and back, my hair was covering most of my name tag, and another cop walks over and starts patting me down, asking if I had any weapons on me. I do not. I'm at work and I don't carry anything on me at work. Lie. I had a pocket knife because I took public transportation, but thought it was in my purse. He gets to my arms and moves my hair slightly and saw my name tag. Oh, you do work here? Okay, go back inside and do your job. I nodded and started heading back, and then another cop stopped me and asked what I was doing. I was told to go back to work because I work here. Showed my name tag. You work at the pumps? Oh, okay, go back to the pumps. Kiosk, he meant kiosk, and once I get back in I texted my coworker, a 63-year-old 5'0" old lady, that I just got patted down by cops, so she came back still on lunch to ask what happened and if I was okay. I told her everything and then she double-checked on me before leaving to finish her lunch. Shortly after she left, I had a line form, and then the cop that patted me down got in that line and waited to apologize to me for the misunderstanding, major respect for that, and explained that the customers had stolen that vehicle from a family friend, and it got reported stolen and they thought I was with them. I dressed very casually at work, so I didn't blame them. And the next one is a malicious compliance story. Several years ago, I was working logistics and materials coordination on a very large project. We had manufacturing hubs in several Southeast Asian countries and were regularly sending material to and from the far north of Australia and to those places. Because the planners were not the sharpest tools in the shed and because the project director really did not bother listening to planning anyway, we wound up with a lot of stuff in Australia when it should have been in Thailand, for example. This is a bad thing and needs to be fixed yesterday. Side note, it was a bad thing because the project director decided to alter the manufacturing schedule to save a few dollars. Okay, actually a lot of dollars, but it really threw a massive spanner in the works. The decision gets made to do a charter flight on one of the big Antonovs. You know, the kind that costs $1 million to reposition and burn $50,000 per hour in fuel. The costs were accurate back in the day anyway, they are more expensive now. So I start putting together an inventory list of everything that needs to go across. Over the course of several weeks, the email CC list grows to about 50 people who all want to buy in and need their crap sent across urgently. There is also a growing inventory in Thailand that needs to come back. So now we are up to 3 charter flights both there and back again. About $11 million. Chump change. So as I am planning the 4th of the 3 charter flights, the project director is also flipping his crap about how much this is costing. The instruction from higher-ups is to make 100% sure that everything that needs to go on this last charter goes on and that nothing is left behind. Well, I've got everyone on the list on speed dial at this stage, so I sent out an alert that I am sending out a materials list spreadsheet for everything that is going on in this final plane. All people are required to review and respond, and that non-response will be taken as endorsement of the list because we are on a strict deadline. Everything gets packed up by the crew in Darwin, plane takes off and we all pat ourselves on the back as the plane leaves at about 11 PM on a Friday night. And the phone is ringing. What the hell? Dave? This is Dave in Thailand. They are a few hours behind Australia, and I don't see Valve XYZ123 on the manifest. Me? That's because it is not on the manifest. Everything was loaded onto the plane according to the spreadsheet I sent out several times over the past week. Let me check. You were copied in and acknowledged receipt of the emails on date and date. Dave, we need that Valve here in Thailand to complete the punch list for PAM 907. Here it is worthwhile to point out that PAM 907 was on the critical path and was utterly necessary for the plan to operate. Delivery on time formed part of all the senior management KPIs and therefore a bonus. Me, it is not on the plane. Looking at the records, the Valve is still at site. Dave, that Valve needs to get on the plane. Get a truck to site and drive it to the airport. The site is 700 kilometers, 500 miles from the airport, and it is midnight on Friday night. Me, Dave, the plane left 3 hours ago. We cannot get the Valve on the plane. Dave, that effing Valve needs to get to Thailand by Monday or PAM 907 is not sailing, so just find a way. Click. PAM 907 was coming via a barge and sailed next Friday. There was no way that we could get the Valve to Thailand on a commercial flight by the end of the week and certainly not enough time to install, test and sign off. So I turned to my long-suffering co-worker and miracle worker JC. JC was a Latin American legend who knew logistics inside and out, and if anyone could make the impossible happen, it was him. Me, JC, okay? Me, great job on the charter by the way, but Dave in Thailand says that a Valve did not make it on board. JC, it's not my problem. Plane already in the air. Me, Dave says that a Valve is required for PAM 907. We have to get it there by Monday morning so they can install it, test and get the PAM on the barge. JC is smart cookie. He knows what this means. JC swears in Spanish for about 5 minutes straight. I don't speak the language, but I'm pretty sure he did not repeat himself. JC, call that cowputter crap for brains back and tell him that he needs to get project director's sign-off to turn the plane around. Me, damn, okay. Ring ring, Dave, would. Me, you need to get project director's approval to turn the charter plane around. Dave, what the F? No way. Me, it's not possible to put the Valve on a commercial plane and have it there by Friday, let alone in time to install and test. Dave, I don't want to hear it. Just get that Valve here. I don't care what you have to do. Me, I will need that in writing. Dave, fine. I get the mail in writing and call my boss. JC is still swearing. Boss has the unenviable task of waking up project director and explaining the situation. JC gets to turn the plane around. I get to wake up crew in Darwin to move the valve. Plane lands, valve is loaded, plane leaves, Dave's contract is not renewed. And the next one is also a malicious compliance story. For reference, I process home loans that come to our company via a mortgage broker. So, customer comes to mortgage broker for a loan, mortgage broker searches for the right home loan and comes to us, the lender. Mortgage broker is our client. We recently had a client that decided to withdraw the loan application as the valuation on the property was not as high as the broker/client wanted it to be, meaning that the customer had to pay more out of their pocket for their new property. As part of this loan application, the customer also submitted a form for a subsidy called First Homeowner Grant (FHOG). This is a government grant that helps people buy their first home and has strict guidelines to who can apply. While not particular to the lender, it is a document that is full of personal information that we are legally obliged to protect under the Privacy Act. When this loan did not proceed, we were sent an email by the customer's new financier, competitor bank, requesting we send the FHOG document over to them so they can lodge for the customer. Our answer was no, we will send it to the broker who supplied it to us or the client only. As per our Privacy Act, we will not supply documents to a third party that is not related to our dealings with the customer. Competitor banks should know this, it is the law, and the banks as well as individuals can face hefty fines. Now, I was the lucky one to get the call from the broker who supplied the document to us initially. She is accusing us of deliberately not sending the document because we were not awarded the loan in the first place. I tell her as above, read Privacy Act. We can mail to client or her. She screams that the other bank needs it today, mailing will take too long, and said, "You will have someone walk this document over to competitor bank today." Me, no, I cannot have that happen. Rinse and repeat, privacy. I offer that the document can be collected from our head office by client or broker. Her, client is in another state, not possible. I'll send a person from competitor bank to collect. Me, rinse and repeat in regards to privacy. Her, after more accusations, you know what, I think I will collect it myself. I hear a real sarcastic tone in her voice. I know she planned on sending someone from competitor bank to come to us and just say they were her. Me, oh excellent, I will tell reception that you will collect it. Please ensure you have your ID on you, as we will not hand it over unless we know it is you. Her, stunned silence. Me, what time do you anticipate arriving? Just so I can let the reception know. Her, I'm driving from the Gold Coast, so, about 1.5 hours, I guess, because, traffic. Me, excellent, we will see you then. K, thanks, bye. And yeah guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. And also check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on Spotify, Amazon, Audible and other podcast platforms. You will often find exclusive episodes and early access to new content. Furthermore, please check out my Patreon by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or my YouTube membership program for even more exclusive stories. Thank you so much, and I will see you again tomorrow.